Welcome to the Arclight Battery, your power source for all things Warcraft Rumble related. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you an updated PvP tier list for our new modifier, Bounty Hunt. However, before we get into it, I've got a couple things I want to go over just real quick. I have a community Discord that I have created. I will leave the link to it in the description below. There are not a lot of people in it just yet, but I'm going to advertise it here as its first place. So if you guys would like to join, you're more than welcome to. We're going to try and discuss all things Warcraft Rumble there. It'll also be a place where you can recommend videos, reach out to me personally, ask questions about the game, etc. And I'll just try and be as much of a helping member of the Warcraft Rumble community that I can be. So go ahead and hop into that if you're not already there, and I appreciate you being there. Also, Warcraft Rumble, Arclight Rumblings, Episode 3. There's supposed to be a second half to that video on Blue Max's channel. That's our podcast that we're doing. However, I have lost that video. Somehow I accidentally deleted it. Not really sure what happened. It's unfortunate. But instead of re-recording it, because we are both so busy with work currently this week, we are just going to continue on with Episode 4. I'm sorry if you were enjoying the podcast and you were really looking forward to that episode. It's 100% my fault, and I apologize, but it is what it is, so sorry again. So, let's go ahead and get into the tier list. Let's just define these tiers real quick. S is like the pinnacle, the top of the top. Pretty much every person is playing them. A tier is just a little bit lower than that, not like too far off of S tier, and A tier decks be S tier decks all the time, but A tier decks feel just a little bit lower, and not every single person is playing them. B tier is just below A tier, where they're kind of fringe, but can still get really high rating. C tier is like, maybe you should think about playing this deck a little more, because it's probably not very good. And then D tier is like completely unplayable. But I don't really think there's anything down there, or maybe I do. You'll just have to wait and see. But let's go ahead and get into it. We have these organized by faction, except for Murkeye and Baron, and we'll kind of get into those at the very end. There's a reason they're at the end, and we'll talk about them more in depth once we get there. But let's go ahead and start with Thalnos. Solid C tier. He's okay. He didn't get buffed this patch, however, he got pseudo buffed because Safe Pilot got nerfed, but it's still not enough. He's not very good, unfortunately. He just needs a little bit more help than what he's doing. Not a great leader. Sylvanas, we have B tier. There are a lot of gargoyle decks with Sylvanas, and most of the time you're not really playing Sylvanas, other than a defensive unit, which is great. I mean, she's good at it. So you're basically running the standard Safe Pilot, Gwilbor, Prowler, things like that, running it with Gargoyle, and you deal with what's happening on the map until there are a bunch of units all clumped in one spot, and then you play a Sylvanas, and she takes care of it pretty nicely with her Black Arrow talent. She's B tier. She's like, okay, not super solid, but way better than Thalnos, that's for sure. Let's move on to Drakkisath. This guy is probably high B tier, definitely above Sylvanas. Drakkisath is still where he's been. Deathball builds are great. Shaman, Holy Nova, Ogre Mage, those sorts of things to support him. However, with Safe Pilot being nerfed and Gargoyle becoming more meta, more and more players are running things that counter Drakkisath, which in turn counter Gargoyle, specifically Polymorph. I've seen a lot more of that recently, big resurgence in that. So that just kind of hurts him a little bit. He is still very good, and there are ways you can play around that. Polymorph, that is. Holy Nova is one of those. Great for keeping him alive even through Polymorph. Shaman's great for after the Polymorph ends. Giving him armor and him already having resist is just super solid. He's definitely high B tier, maybe low A tier, but I don't think he's quite there. So we'll keep him here. Next we have Rend Blackhand, which is very high A tier. I don't think he's quite S tier. A lot of people are playing him, but not everybody. He's great. Gargoyle's super good with him, just because you can kind of split pressure in lanes. He's great as a defensive tool, kind of like Sylvanas, but instead of like playing Sylvanas and her clearing the wave, and that's kind of all you get out of her, Rend, you get a gold discount to your flying needs, like gargoyle and whelpegs and things like that. So he's super solid. He's also just very good once he comes off his mount. Generally, he gets crushed by Griffin in the air, but coming off the mount, he's pretty tanky, honestly. So he's super high A tier. Great leader in PvP right now. Next, we have Emperor Thaurissan. He is probably at the bottom of A tier. Once again, save file got nerfed, so Gargoyle decks have made kind of a resurgence, and he's pretty solid with Gargoyle decks, honestly. With his Hubris talent, giving Gargoyles +2 levels is super solid. He gives Gargoyle burning, too, like fire weapons, so he puts burn with his attacks while Emperor Thaurissan is out. Don't know that Gargoyle actually needs that, but it is not bad, just a little extra. He's also kind of tanky himself, so pretty good leader. He's overall a fantastic Gargoyle leader. Next we have Cairne Bloodhoof, which I think is probably high B tier. Once again, safe pilot nerfs. Pretty solid for Cairne because he likes to run Troll with the extra health that the Troll has from Cairne's passive, plus the health regen that the Troll has from the Big Bad Voodoo talent. Just makes Cairne a little more viable than he currently was. I think he's still probably high B tier. That's kind of the only thing he has going for him right now is giving Troll extra health. It's just like kind of what he's always been doing, but he's just a little better because of safe pilot being worse. Next we have Grommash. He's probably at the very bottom tier of A tier. He is super solid right now. There are lots of builds. I've seen a Huntress build that uses Huntress to push a Grommash, Grommash giving her Bloodlust, Huntress pushing Grommash down the field very quickly, and then it just runs support. It runs Cheat Death and Holy Nova, and I think Chain Lightning too. But either way, its main goal is to get Huntress to the base with a Grommash and then keep them alive, and they will destroy the enemy's base by the time they have any chance to react to them. It's really good. I would have been ran over by it earlier today if I wasn't playing Polymorph in my Rend build. But yeah, very scary. Lots of ways to play him. I've seen a Troll Shaman Grommash list that is really good. Played it on stream today. Seemed really solid. Great leader right now. Actually, I have Sneed, and he is probably, I want to say, a little higher than Cairne, or I would like him to be. I thought that random chests, or rather random maps, would make Sneed bad because of there not being chests on every map, but this guy's actually pretty solid at just defending and taking back towers if you place him correctly. And not only will he kill what took the tower originally most of the time, but he also takes the tower back, getting 2 gold from his passive, and then an extra 2 gold from his talent. He's pretty solid, and it's just kind of cherry on top when you get the maps with treasure chests. You know, he's always going to be better on the maps with treasure chests and weaker on the maps without, and so it's kind of a gamble playing him, but he is still pretty solid. Way better than I thought he was going to be. Next we have Charlga, and she is actually pretty high A tier. Probably in between Rend and Emperor. So let's not confuse it. She's not A tier because of her passive. Her passive is just kind of whatever. She is A tier because you play all of the good units with her, and then she is good at locking things down for 1 gold. Everybody's playing her with the 1 gold talent. Yes, it makes your play a little swingy, but when everything's like 3 gold or under, it's not actually doing much. So she's just good at locking down units. People are running like Execute Prowler with her. Really aggressive because you can be aggressive when your 1 gold cost unit roots down whatever is trying to kill your base and deals percentile health damage while your tower blasts the unit she's rooting. So super solid, super A tier. I misjudged this unit a lot, mainly because I was misjudging her, or not misjudging her, mainly because I was judging her passive and not actually what she does. Her passive is still god-awful. I wish they would change it, but she's a good unit herself, so what else can you want? Next, we have a Hogger, who I think is also A tier, probably between Emperor and Charlga, maybe between Emperor and Grommash, but he's super solid. People have just been playing value cycle Hogger decks. He's pretty solid at claiming treasure chests, especially once he gets higher health and higher attack speed and movement speed. He just gets to things quicker, and he's tanky, so he's going to generally out-contest whatever your opponent is trying to do to contest treasure chests. Great unit. Not much more to say on that. Just, cycle Murlocs, Vultures, Prowler, Global Order, Safe Pilot, the good stuff. Next we have Jaina, and this is going to be our first S tier hero. There are a lot of good decks running around right now with Deep Breath, Ghoul, or Harvest Golem with the Chicken's talent. Super solid. Turtle Jaina is back in a big way, and not that it really ever left. It kind of saw less play on our last map because, actually, I don't know why. I think it was because games were so aggressive from just like dealing 20% of enemies' health by taking a tower. But now it seems like with the extra gold generation, Jaina can really stick and hold on pretty well. And it really has brought her back in a big way. She is being played by a lot of players right now. Not everybody, as not everybody has really picked her back up since she became a little better with Bounty Hunt. However, I think a lot of players will. So I think she's S tier. I think she's super solid. Next we have Tirion. He is probably A tier if I had to guess. There are a lot of builds with him. He's probably in between Hogger and Thaurissan, maybe between Hogger and Charlga. He's somewhere in this mid kind of echelon of A tier leaders. He's super solid. There's Gargoyle builds, there's Footman builds, there's Huntress builds. There's a lot you can do with him. Great at double stacking Tyrions, or like double stacking Tyrions with a Shaman. That's a lot of healing your opponent has to chew through, and most of the time they don't have what it takes to do it, especially when you're supporting them with things like Deep Breath, or Murlocs, or Griffin Riders, or just cheap things of that nature. So, pretty solid A tier. Next we have Maiev. I don't think everybody is playing her, but she is S tier in my opinion. I think she's still very solid. Calathumos, the #1 player in the world currently, used her to get to 7k rating. Just keep climbing and climbing and climbing with her. Super solid leader, especially with the random maps. She's just so versatile on everything. She's really good at contesting treasure chests. She's super solid. Great leader, love her. Not much else to say. She's awesome. And now we have our two controversial heroes. We have Murk-Eye and Baron. So, if we're rating this how it actually is, Baron is S, and Murk-Eye is A, probably between Rend and Charlga, if I had to guess. But that is because of how Bounty Hunt works right now. So, Bounty Hunt is either bugged, or it's just working the way it works, and that's just how it is. But currently, Bounty Hunt is not counting Baron skeletons. They're not counting Murk-Eye spawns. They're not counting resurrected corehounds. I don't believe they're counting chickens out of harvest golems. They're counting whelp eggs, but not whelps for whatever reason. And the way that the Bounty Hunt mechanic works is just kind of weird. I don't know why it's not counting them. I don't know if it's intended or not, but this is where they're at. Baron's S tier. He's just constantly putting pressure on the map. Super solid leader. Great for claiming treasure chests because he's fast. Great at applying pressure because he's fast. You run him with things like Prowler. All the value stuff. Griffins, Safe Pilots, Globors, that sort of thing. And Murk-Eye's kind of the same. You just play him and play the value stuff, and you get value out of your Murloc spawning. And because Bounty Hunt doesn't affect them, this is where they're at. This is the tier list. However, if they change things, I think that Baron probably goes to low A tier. I would imagine he's still probably good. You're just going to have to play a little better with him to not have that gold advantage be relevant. And I think that Murk-Eye is probably low B tier. Probably between Sylvanas and Drakkisath, or maybe just at the bottom. I think if Murk-Eye ever gets to where his spawns are affected by Bounty Hunt, he's probably not going to be very good. I think Chain Lightning will be everywhere as long as people are trying to play him, because at that point, you don't care that they spawn all the Murlocs. You just kind of wait, I think, and then Chain Lightning and get your gold back out of your Chain Lightning as it kills 10 things. You know, not great to be spawning free gold for your opponent. But, as it stands right now, Baron's S tier, Murk-Eye's A tier, and that's how it stands. So, gonna go on a work trip. Actually, today, as this video goes live, I'll be out of town for the next couple of days, but when I get back, I will be doing a video on guides for a couple of these decks. They won't be super in depth. They will just be going over how I would play the leader and the builds I would use. Showcase a couple of PvP games, maybe, but it's more about just getting the build into your guys' hands so that you have something to play around with. But until then, this is our tier list. I have some videos on the channel already about some of them, so feel free to check out those videos. Once again, apologies for the Arclight Rumblings episode 3, the second half that is not going to be published because I accidentally deleted it. But that's what happens when, well, I guess you're super busy and just somehow you accidentally delete it. But thank you guys for watching. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers. It is insane. Just thank you for being here, and I appreciate each and every one of you. And until next time, I'll see you later.